Hello, everybody. Welcome to Navigating Beyond, hosted by Navigate Finance, your real estate finance partner, where you can realize your potential. Today, I'm joined here by Jaime Moreno, and he's the Director of Acacias Capital. And Jaime, nice to see you. How are you doing?
Tariq, I'm very good, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me in your podcast.
No, pleasure.
Very nice
I've
to be
wanted to
here.
do this with you for a long time, and that's really good to see. You've got a perfect setup. You know, you've got the headphones, the microphone. It's more
Yeah,
professional than me.
I look like a professional podcaster, but actually I'm not. I'm not. All of this is from my wife equipment. She has done some podcasts, so
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning for professionals.
yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, that's very good. How has your new year been? It's 2025 now already. Things are moving.
Yeah, no, it's been a good start of the year. As you know, in the UK, nothing happens between Christmas and the second week of January. But we are little by little starting the year with a lot of work. Investors coming into the UK, investors that I've been working with as well from last year in different parts of the country. So things are going well. And what about you? How are things at your end?
Yeah, good. You know, it definitely before Christmas, there was just an influx of
Hmm.
clients chasing deals, trying to get things done just before Christmas because everyone is
Yeah,
afraid of that, Christmas
yeah.
period. There's, 2, even 3 weeks for some people to just take holiday and everything gets delayed and everyone pushes for things to close before the Christmas
Before
holiday.
Christmas.
Yeah, so there was a lot of, let's say, a lot of work and then holiday for me isn't really something I do. I just actually find the period quite stressful because I want to continue with what I'm doing and I don't want to put anything on hold. But I enjoyed it a little bit and
Yeah,
backing out.
yeah. Well, nobody's working at the end of the day, so
Yeah,
you have to take some time off, which is a good thing. But
yeah.
well, here we are,
Here
starting
we
the year.
are. Here we are. And Jaime, look, very interesting what you do. It's Acacias, for those who
Mhm.
don't know, and you'll explain it better than me. They bridge the Latin American real estate investment market with the UK. And typically, from
Mhm.
my understanding, and as you've explained to me in the past, Latin Americans find it more easy, more accessible to invest in North America for time zone
Mhm.
reasons, for locality, for the understanding of the market, for presence. You know, they've been present in
Yeah.
that market for a long time. And Jaime, you took that lunge across the pond, as they say, to the UK. You're here now, and you're helping them invest here. So, can you please, I'd love to know, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know, can you share your journey of building these bridges between Latin American investors and the UK real estate market, and what inspired you to focus on this niche as well?
Tariq, I think you explained it very well, better than me probably.
I've
But
tried.
no, I started some years ago with this business, and the main or the spirit of the business behind, or the main idea, the vision actually of my business has been always try to connect the UK and Latin America. In this case, through real estate investment. As you mentioned, I mean, the Latin American investors, it doesn't matter the jurisdiction. It could be from Chile, which I'm from Chile, or it could be an Argentinian investor. It could be from Colombia. It could be from Mexico. They will tend to invest in the United States. That's their main market. Most of the money goes there. Every time something is happening in Latin America, as we all know, there is political instability, economic instability. Currencies also are quite volatile. Investors tend to fly to quality, and that flight to quality will be the North American real estate market. And I have seen this happening for many, many years, and it's the norm. It's the normal. The cultural gaps are quite narrow in comparison with the UK. Obviously, the market, there are 50 million Latin American people living in the United States. It's a lot easier
It's a big
to go to
market.
the US. Exactly. It's a big market. The United States offers all kind of different of opportunities. Therefore, it's easier in a certain way from a cultural perspective, from a logistical perspective as well, for Latin American to go to United States and to get to know the market better. However, I'm a believer, and more than a believer, I mean, I think we have the tools here and also the knowledge to guide investors to come to the UK, to a market that I believe in many ways is better than the US.
That's very interesting. And I'm sure you would have a unique perspective on that because it's, as you say, easier
I've been
for
in
you.
both sides.
Yeah, it's easier for you to focus on the North American market, but there must be something here that you've identified that's, attractive to your clients.
Yeah.
That you could sell.
Exactly. I mean, it's a very niche business in a certain way, obviously, because I wouldn't recommend any client to put all their eggs in one place, in this case, the UK. But I think the UK plays a very good role in diversifying portfolios.
Yeah.
Investment portfolios. And for many reasons. I mean, one of them obviously is currency. You get a reserve currency in the UK as well. It's the sixth biggest economy in the world. We're talking about a market that is, I would say, less volatile than the American market in real estate, although the secular trends are similar in the long term. And if you look data for 150 years, there's a paper I was reading the other day from London School of Economics. And you look at the long-term data, and obviously the secular trends are quite similar. But when you adjust all of that data through inflation and some other measures, you find out that actually the UK is a lot more stable over time, and volatility is lower. So in a certain way, it offers a good tool for diversification in those portfolios. So when I started my business, obviously I look at this from a financial perspective or investor perspective. I represent investors. We represent investors in Acacias Capital. We are not estate agents trying to sell them properties. Totally the opposite. We help them to enter the UK market, finding the best investments according to their risk profile, obviously level of investment in terms of amount, the yield that they are looking for, risk that they are willing to afford. But I think that's one of the interesting things about it. I mean, it offers diversification. It offers as well, this appetite from the financial market as well and you know this better than me, I mean, to fund and give funding to overseas investors to buy properties in real estate.
Yeah.
So that also is a good advantage. While some investors might struggle to find funding for the real estate investments in their own countries, in the UK,
it's much more accessible.
It's very likely, exactly, and that is something that Latin American investors don't know.
It's a very mature market. It's a very mature market for lending, alternative lending, all types of lending in the UK. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, it's all about educating your client base on what the opportunity is here, and that being one of them. But of course, a Latin American person coming to the UK who, for whatever reason, wants to live here and work here, might have challenges like I think you mentioned in the past, just basic banking services or opening accounts is a bit of a challenge for them, and you'd be the go-to person to help guide them. Again, there needs to be that kind of element of someone who's been here, someone who's established and who's dealt with these challenges before, because otherwise what would they do?
How do you navigate?
Right? Yeah, how do you navigate? Yeah, exactly.
That's the name of your business. And it's true. It's true. You need someone that understands the challenges and understand the culture as well. As I said, I mean, the cultural gaps are quite wide, I would say. The US is more similar in a certain way to Latin America. But they understand better, obviously, because there is more influence, I would say.
There's way more,
But you need to know how to navigate the real estate market in the UK. There are a lot of different things because it's been here for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And you have different concepts and freehold, for example, leasehold and things like that are not simple to understand for someone coming from another country. I mean, opening bank accounts, dealing with solicitors, accountants, creating companies, the tax environment as well. How does it work? All different things that we try to help our investors to navigate. And I think we've been doing in a good way. Our base of investors has been growing over the years for the same reason. Obviously, I don't think it's very common to find Latin American investors in the UK.
Yeah.
They don't come in big volume, but that's our work. Acacias Capital, and this was my vision at the beginning. The main purpose is to build bridges between the UK and Latin America, so Latin American investors can benefit from UK real estate with a local partner, someone that knows how to navigate this market. There are advantages, obviously, in terms of diversification of their portfolios. There's an advantage in terms of volatility. I believe prices in the UK at this moment are good, especially for cash buyers.
Yeah.
I think London prices are extremely good in certain areas, and the deals that you can achieve are super good. And at the same time, obviously, those same investors, I think they can learn more about the benefits from a tax perspective that they can have by investing in the UK instead of the US, for example. So again, this is about diversifying.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning in the past, obviously, taxation being one of the main things and economic trends shaping, a future for Latin Americans in the United Kingdom. You talk about the advantages. What are some of the tax advantages that you've observed here in this market in comparison to, the US market?
Yeah, I think that there is something that not many people know, not even in the UK, also in Latin America, that the UK is the country in the world with more double treated agreements. The US, for example, doesn't have any with Latin America, except one now. Recently, they signed something with Chile, but it's not as good as the one that the UK has with Chile. So let's start from there. That's the minimum, bare minimum. There are some, because there are this double treaty agreement or double tax treaty agreements. Investors can benefit from that point at the beginning. Obviously, without wanting to give any financial advice here, there are other things. A warning.
Yeah, exactly.
There are other benefits. I mean, withholding tax. That's a big thing. Overseas investors, they don't pay withholding tax in the UK. So you create your company in the UK, which we help with that, and then your company can pay dividends to that overseas investor, and they don't pay any withholding tax, for example. Whether in the US, withholding tax for overseas investors is something around 30%.
Yeah. So significant difference there.
It's significant
already.
Another thing that I like a lot about the UK is easy to understand. It's very clear and transparent, because we have one system. You have the corporate tax, you have withholding tax, you have some benefits as well that you can apply when you sell, for example, a subsidiary company or your holding company. Whether in the US, you have two layers, essentially, the federal one and the state one.
Yeah.
Taxes can be wherever between 20%, for example, corporate tax, to 32%, depending on where you are in the US. So there are a few things that I believe might help.
It's more multifaceted. There's a lot more moving parts. Yes, there's this universal singular system, which once you master that, there's no element of surprise, no unknown variables, no unknown quantities to explore, discover, or whatever, basically.
Exactly. It's a lot simpler. And again, I mean, the opportunities in the UK, there are very good opportunities at the moment.
Yeah,
there are some macroeconomic reasons.
Yeah, no, sorry. Just to say, you mentioned, how a lack of liquidity in the market is, creating now opportunity for cash buyers. And I think that's a really big market that I've observed as well. Obviously, interest rates have been high and it's been flushing people out of, let's say, the debt space. Yeah. Some people still need it. But those who are able, and I shouldn't be saying this because, it's kind of, I work in finance, but it's the truth. Those who have cash and liquidity command a premium. Cash is king. And, I just want to know, how do you help your clients capitalize on these conditions? I know you mentioned, social housing, for example, is a niche in the UK market that you guys focus on. And why do you find this area so intriguing, and why do you think it fits into your clients' investment appetites as well?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to start, it's not for every investor and not for every client. It depends, obviously, in the risk profile and the kind of investment they want to conduct. Social housing offers a few interesting things. One of them, obviously, is higher yields. So to start, is for those investors that are looking for high level of return. You can have houses in social housing that we have developed up north, yielding 9%, anything between 8 to 10%. So for cash buyers, quite attractive, because you can buy a house, we can help them develop that, and then get those houses renting that level of income.
Yeah.
Whatever is the interest are the interest rates in the market for a mortgage, then is going to be under that 8 or 9% return as well. So it might be attractive for certain kind of investors. Also, long-term contracts. Usually these are more commercial kind of contracts, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. We have seen even longer. So investors, they get an investment, long-term investment, with an assured return from a housing association, usually CPI linked. So it's quite stable over time.
Yeah.
What is the trade-off of an investment like that? Obviously, it's capital growth.
Yeah.
If you are looking for capital growth, you need to go for the kind of investment. So we try to advise and trying to balance portfolios in both ways for investors. It depends a lot on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. And, obviously, you mentioned you've been in the UK now for, is it a decade, 10 years or so?
Yeah. I'm going to have 10 years here now.
So you're pretty British now. Huh? They probably come and call you Jamie here or something, right? Not Jaime.
I think you are the only person that calls me by my proper name. So thank you for that, Tariq.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I have an issue with people who call people their wrong name. You get that a lot, especially around here. And no, of course, your name is Jaime. And
it's Jaime.
Some people even change their names. People from the Far East, they come to the UK and they just suddenly they're Bob or Chris. And I just don't understand that. I think people should just keep their identities and be proud of that and, embrace it. But yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm curious, what was it like for a young Jaime? I mean, you're still young now, but even 10 years younger.
Thanks for that.
10 years younger, leaving Chile, building a different life and a new culture. What did that teach you about yourself? And was this the reason why you did that, to help Latin Americans invest, or was there another pull that brought you here, or what was the story really?
Well, the story is my wife she's British, and we form a family, and we moved to the UK. So I think the starting point was I moved here for love.
You followed your heart. It's not a bad thing.
I follow my heart. Yeah. It's been a great change. I love this country. I love the UK. I feel half English, or maybe more than half now, because I have embraced the culture. I understand the country. Every time I go back to Chile, I feel a bit of a foreigner over there as well. Yeah. And I think, and probably you feel quite similar in your own personal story as well. Living from another country and coming into the UK, you create your life here.
Yeah.
And you start embracing certain cultural things, and also how the world works.
Yeah.
It's different. And in that journey, obviously, I decided to create my own property investment consulting firm with the purpose, because I saw this advantage, or I saw this niche.
Yeah.
Where I thought, many people could benefit from this. You don't need to be a high net worth individual.
Yeah.
With millions of pounds neither. Yeah. You can be a small investor and still make it in the UK. You can still do 100%. It. You can still invest here.
100%. There's so many ways, so many vehicles to get into the property game,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all these years, I've been educating people and trying to spread the word in terms of how beneficial it could be for them to put part of their investment pot in the UK. It's a great market. Obviously, with challenges, like everyone.
Yeah,
and investing in real estate has challenges.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's not easy. You always will find something.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's hard to me see any places better than here in terms of transparency.
For sure.
And how everything works. I mean, coming from another country and actually getting a bank funding your investment.
Yeah.
Putting a 30% deposit, for example, and getting the other 70% from a local bank, I think it's just incredible.
We take that for granted in the UK. People who've been living here their whole lives and are just used to this market just think of it as a right or a guarantee. There are opportunities that we are funding in Europe at the moment. Even in Europe, you look at Spain, Portugal, France, Monaco, Italy. At least short-term financing solutions aren't there. The market isn't as mature as it is here. So I can imagine even Latin America is another thing entirely. So the UK market is a very attractive market for access to funds, right?
To funds. And it's very good you mentioned that, Tariq, because it's something I've been talking to having conversations with some investors, that I do believe that one way to expand to Europe is through the UK.
Yeah,
Establish
100%.
your company in the
100%.
UK, your holding company, invest in the UK, your holding company can invest in Europe as well. And then you will get better access to funding and finance through a company like yours, like Navigate Finance, for example, into the European market. And at the same time, you are going to benefit from double tax treaties between the UK and Latin America.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are many, there are some angles actually that make the UK more attractive. But I go back to the beginning. People doesn't know that. And it's very important to spread the word, to let people know this. And investors, obviously, they start talking to others investors once they see that their own investment case was successful.
Yeah.
And it's been our story, essentially.
Yeah. And whenever I speak to Jaime, it's funny. I always feel there's a parallel here because, Navigate Finance, this business started because I'm Middle Eastern, originally from Iraq.
Yeah.
We were advising Middle Eastern investors on investment opportunities in the UK, mainly in the commercial real estate segment. We were advising them on the investments and, most importantly, the financing. So particularly our niche was Sharia compliant financing. But what we noticed with time, obviously, we branched out into catering for all other clients, from all other backgrounds and jurisdictions. And we kind of diversified our product offering from Sharia compliant financing to standard conventional commercial mortgages, bridging and development financing, residential mortgages, buy-to-let mortgages, the whole thing. You very much are doing the same in terms of you are focusing on your Latin American clients. Do you see yourself eventually, diversifying the client base to maybe other jurisdictions, other people? Are you very focused on the cause, which is, the Latin American client?
I think it's a good question. I think it's part of the journey at the end. And you start seeing where things take you in the long run. I would say in the long term, we don't see going into different kind of markets to talk to investors. We want to keep focused in Latin America.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is because the potential and the market size is huge.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we have a lot of work to do there. And actually, if I go back to the beginnings, I think everything I learned in real estate investment was through sourcing deals to local investors. So at the beginning, I started working more locally and understanding the market, understanding investors, understanding everything essentially. And once I felt I was prepared for that, I started looking more into the Latin American investors and transitioning into that until we became 100% focused on that. So I think the short answer at the end is, in the short term, I think in medium term, I think the Latin American market offers a great opportunity to bring more investors and helping them, obviously, to diversify their portfolios here.
Yeah, and that's what I imagine the case to be, because, of course, it's such a new kind of marketplace to explore and to start, mining and to chisel out, all these opportunities for these clients. I think it's the Middle Eastern market is very well established. I think much in the same way that Latin Americans look to invest in North America, people from the Middle East have been doing that in the UK. It's very easy for them to have the access. A lot of their kids go to school here or university. They come on holidays here. It's a mature market. I think with the Latin American market, because it's so new and because you are the guy, because and for that reason, there's so much potential to kind of spread that message and educate, people to come and join you and expand, really.
Well, that's the idea. I've been expanding the business and more people joining. Well, I have a business partner in Spain as well, and more people locally as well that knows the local market to try to capture those opportunities for investors. And I think, as I said earlier, I mean, there are so many opportunities and very good opportunities even for those investors that are looking to invest in London. That maybe they are looking for more security, more stable incomes. Even London offers great opportunities today in comparison. If you compare London with any capital in Latin America, I think London has a return adjusted by risk, probably more attractive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see the same. What is your view on that, or what kind of opportunities you have seen on that side? But I believe London offers great opportunities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're 100% correct, which is why, Middle Eastern investors, and not just Middle Eastern, Latin American, but, people from the Far East across the globe come and either park their money in investments in London or in the UK,
Mm. Yeah.
or find investment angles in real estate here. And again, as you said, and it's very interesting you mentioned it, and I'm glad you did, but the access to finance and debt is a
Mm.
very big thing, and it really
Yeah.
gives people that mobility to
Mm.
actually go for interesting opportunities. And you can, with the help of bridging finance, you can make acquisitions quickly if you're competing with people, or if you're at market, at auction, or whatever it is. There's so many solutions, so many ways to, let's say, give people that wriggle room in the market.
Mm. Mm.
Just, of course, we've been working together, and so I would know this, but just for the viewers, what has your experience been in raising finance for these clients? What has it been like? What kind of feedback are you getting from lenders?
There's a mix, I would say. First of all, it's very important that investors, overseas investors, they structure their investments and their companies in the UK before raising finance in a proper way. So they need the proper advice from the beginning. It's very easy to say, you know what, let's go to England, let's buy something, and then you find out that you haven't set up properly maybe your company, or how you're going to structure the company, the shareholders, etc. For those investors with the right kind of setup, in general, the feedback for lenders has been good. Lenders you have access to funds. I wouldn't say it's as liquid as it used to be. Loan to value, they've been decreasing. Interest rates, obviously, they are quite high at the moment. So there are certain restrictions, but still, as an overseas investor, if you're looking to raise finance, I think you can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
However, to capitalize on those opportunities that you can find today in London or anywhere in the UK, my advice in general to investors is try to go 100% equity and refinance 6 months later or 1 year later, whenever it is, you create a track record. And
Yeah,
that is going to help you in front of the lender to get a better rate.
exactly. Yeah. Establishing that track record and credibility is key. And then at that point of refinance, those funds can be used to fund the next investment, and it rolls on and on. You don't need to raise more
Effectively.
capital from the source, basically. It funds itself.
That's effective, yeah. And that's essentially the advice that we're giving today is try to go 100% equity at the beginning, create a track record. It doesn't have to be for years. It's just for a few months.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you go to the market and raise those funds to go for the next. We've seen, opportunities in London. I think I mentioned the other day talking to you. If you invest in some capital cities in Latin America, in very good areas, you can get returns of 4%, cap rates of 4%, which is essentially the same that you can get in central London.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
5% in central London. I have closed deals at 5.5% in central London. So when you start looking at that and you start saying, well, do you want the political instability, the economic instability, and many problems that we suffer in Latin America? Or maybe you want to put your funds in London, where we have our problems, obviously, but we are still the sixth biggest economy in the world, super transparent market, high liquidity. The number of, and you mentioned this, of investors coming from Middle East and Asia is quite important. Yeah. Also from America, we have 50 billion pounds of overseas investment in the UK in real estate. 50 billion.
Yeah.
And we are talking something around 10% of that comes only from Middle East.
Yeah.
So you can see the volumes of how much money is coming, and most of that in London.
Yeah, absolutely. People tend to forget why, the market in the UK is so good. Again, it's a bit of a comfort zone. It's taken for granted, but the, let's say, political stability also is a big thing, especially in the Middle Eastern market. There are sways here and there, but relatively to other parts in the world, the UK has always been seen as quite a resilient market for real estate. Even now, we saw what happened in, COVID, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of industries were hit hard. A lot of people's investment portfolios were hit hard. Those who had assets in real estate were able to withstand the storm, relatively speaking. I think especially in the UK, it's always proven to be a very resilient market. And I would always say to anybody, when you're looking to make investments, and there's so many investment tools out there that people look at, and I think real estate in the UK will always be one of the safest places to eventually park your cash.
I agree with you 100%. And we can look at history, as I said at the beginning, 150 years, for example, of data, and you can see the volatility in other markets, and you can see how is the UK. The secular trend is the same, but the volatility is different. So if you are for the long run, I think the UK in a certain way is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Americans invest a lot in the UK.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Yeah, that's a big thing to bring up, right? And that's
exactly.
Absolutely.
So Latin Americans, they go to America, but Americans come to
yeah, exactly. And there must be a reason for that. And then you have growing markets where they send you, like lots of opportunities in Dubai or wherever, and the numbers look really, really exciting. But there's a big element of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Will the bubble burst? If it's an off-plan property, will it really achieve its value? What kind of historical data do they have?
Yeah.
The UK is very stable in that sense.
I think the main message there, Tariq, is go boring, but go safe.
Exactly.
That's the thing. And with a pretty good return, I would say.
Yeah, 100%.
Similar returns that developing markets. I mean, you start looking at the data and home prices. In the UK, we are at the same levels of, I think, 2011 right now, adjusted by inflation. So you can see what is happening. Obviously, prices they've been in real terms with high inflation in the last couple of years or since COVID, and prices decreasing at the same time and rents going up. What you get from that are similar prices than 2011. In London, is similar prices than 2007.
Yeah.
So it's flat. But the cap rates, obviously, because rental market, we have a problem of supply there, and the prices been going up faster. Then you get cap rates of, as I said, 4 or 5% in London. Up north in Manchester, 6%, for example. It's quite tight, Manchester, right now, but many other areas as well, where all those returns are going up. So you can see the opportunity.
And those are cap rates on a dry basis. I mean, sometimes, you can generate even stronger cash-on-cash returns if you have the right kind of debt in place as well in the long term, if you stabilize an asset on a good fixed product going forwards.
Yeah.
The cap rates are attractive, but they can even be stretched further, in that sense.
I think the internal rate of return, for example, for a portfolio, well-diversified portfolio, where you put a bit of residential in London, up north, some of commercial. I mean, you're totally right. You can think of something over 12% easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously, certain things happen, having certain capital growth, and you have certain black swan events. At ceteris paribus, 12% is quite achievable.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
A well-diversified portfolio in the UK with the right finance.
100%. And just moving away from work at the moment, because I really want to know a bit more about you and just, what it was like growing up in Chile. I want to, understand, because obviously this podcast, Navigating Beyond, we explore obviously business themes, finance themes, real estate themes, but we also like to get a little bit philosophical and understand, the people we're speaking to, because in the end of the day, and I think much must be the case for your Latin American investors, you want to trust who you're working with, especially if they come here, they need to trust Jaime. Middle Eastern investors that were coming here had to trust Tariq. It's just, you have to understand people. And I think sometimes people jump way too deep into like understanding, the numbers and the business, whatever. But I think for me, it's who are you dealing with, right? And I'd love, and I'd love, anyone who'd be watching this to understand a bit more about you, what it was like growing up in Chile. Is there anything you can tell us about that? Was it Santiago?
I'm from Santiago, very good, from the capital city.
Yeah.
I mean, Chile is a beautiful country, beautiful country. I would recommend it to everyone. I know from the UK feels like a bit far to take a flight and go over there. But it's such a beautiful place with all kind of geographies and weathers and lovely people, lovely food. So I will highly recommend it. Obviously, Chile, in the times that I grew up, and it still is, I mean, it's a developing country. I've seen firsthand, how a country can change over the years with the proper investment and the proper mindset. Chile in the 80s was a very poor country. It's still obviously a developing country with many challenges.
Yeah.
But today we're talking about a totally different country with a lot of more opportunities. In a certain way, one of the few exceptions in the Latin American environment with great growth. Well, I went to school in Chile. I grew up in Santiago, and most of over there were in Santiago. My background was always in the financial industry. I worked many years in Chile in banking until I moved to the UK. So my background and my way of thinking a certain way is always more related to numbers and how I can find the best deal from a financial. And that's why I think I talk a lot about portfolios, diversification, and that kind of mindset, because it's where I come from.
Yeah, yeah. And you have that connection to Chile. You have the memories,
exactly.
The upbringing, your family. Do you still have family there?
My family is there. Parents, my siblings. I have 3 brothers, all my nieces and nephews, which is obviously what I miss the most. After so many years in the UK, we mentioned this before. I mean, you become a British citizen, and this is my country now.
Yeah.
However, I miss obviously my family and friends, which is something you never replace.
No, 100%. That's home, right? Ultimately, I mean, you've got 2 homes, I'm sure, which is a blessing, I'm sure. But yeah, that's.
Oh yeah. But that's very nice that you're saying that, because in a certain way, that's how it feels as well.
Yeah,
you have 2 places where to go.
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful feeling at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's a country that's transitioned a lot lately. I mean, obviously, I'm from Iraq, and that's also a country that currently, more recently, is experiencing a lot of growth and change and transition. And, these are 2 countries, without getting too political, that were under very strict regimes. Iraq had the Saddam Hussein, regime, which went past. And then after that, the country changed a lot and is still changing. It might be a little off topic, but I'm just curious to know and hear from a Chilean, what kind of changes happen in, Chile after the Pinochet era.
Yeah.
When you look back now, do you see anything that transitioned dramatically? What can you explain about that time as well?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And without wanting to go political on this, I mean, you can see very clear a big change. Obviously, there are generational changes in terms of mindset and how people think. Because when you are in a regime like Pinochet and dictatorship, it's totally different kind of environment in terms of freedoms and press and so many things.
Were Chileans able to invest in the UK under his regime? I mean, I'm just wondering if that's changed.
Yeah. No, on that time, you were able to travel, you were able to invest in other places. But because it was a dictatorship, and we're talking about the 70s and 80s, before the internet, before many things that people today, they take them for granted. But actually, the world wasn't like that before. The openness of the country, obviously, wasn't the same as now. And globalization was something that was happening in those years. But Chile wasn't on board of that.
Yeah.
Because you're in a dictatorship, obviously, nobody wants to do business with you.
Yeah.
So there were really hard times for many people, obviously for the opposition, but also from an economical perspective. The country didn't have many trade or many business going on. Obviously, copper is an important part of the Chilean exports. In those years, probably they rely a lot on that and agriculture. But after that period of time, because I grew up in those years, in the 80s, I was little, but I can remember, for example, I can't remember poverty. I can't remember many things of those years. You can see how the country changed in a radical way between 1989, when everything finished and we started transitioning into democracy, and 2010. I mean, the change is absolutely radical. Yeah. And even I remember very well, I mean, between 1990 and 1999, the big difference in the country in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education, in terms of access to education.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
A lot of first generation people going to university. Most of my class actually were people going for first time to university. So the change was so radical, and the growth of the country was so radical during 20 years that it took a lot of people out of poverty.
Yeah, and look,
and I believe Iraq probably is living a process.
It's in that process now.
You can tell me more of that, but yeah.
Well, 100% it's in that process now. And I think, again, many synergies, many parallels here. But one thing's for sure, I think the Iraqis, Chileans, very resilient people. They've been through struggles, they've seen transformation. And it's interesting that you were one of the first generations to be able to, have a proper education. And, that fuels the ambition, that there's almost an added desire to succeed and expand beyond your horizons, not just in America, but into the UK with Jaime,
anywhere in the world. Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
And resilience is so important. I don't know if my resilience comes from that time because I was very little, I was growing. But something that I can tell you, and I'm sure maybe it's the same for you, that starting a business in a different country, as I did in the UK, and as you did as well here in the UK, that is a real proof of resilience. Yeah. And that is a real proof of
it's a
strong mindset. It's a bigger step.
Yes,
it's absolutely. A bigger step. And so, looking back, obviously, over the years, you're not feeling proud, because I don't think that's the right feeling or word for this. But it's a great achievement.
100%.
Looking back and saying, you know what, I'm not even from the UK, and I've been able to build this.
Yeah.
Minimum, you should be happy for that, and it's a big bless, not only for you and your family, but for many people.
100%. And look, Jaime, we could honestly speak for hours about so many different themes and topics, but I know I don't want to keep you all day. But I guess maybe to close off, I'd ask you if you could, let's say, distill all of your life experiences, professional experiences into, a piece of advice, let's say, for anybody listening or an investor, or whichever angle you want to take, what would that piece of advice be?
Without wanting to go too deep on this, not too philosophical.
Yeah,
but not
don't hold back. Don't hold back.
I think or too cheesy. Let's say it's important to love what you do, love your clients, love what you do, and do it with love. And when you do things like that, and I'm talking from an entrepreneurial point of view, actually. But even if you have a corporate job or whatever you're doing in life, it's important to do things from point with love. So you do things with love. I do it for my clients with love. So you serve better them. And if you're serving better, obviously, then there are going to be benefits for everyone. That's the outcome. The outcome is always good when you think from the heart.
And thank you so much, Jaime. I think that's a beautiful message as well. Follow your heart, which is what you did, which what brought you to the UK, which uncovered an incredible
100%.
opportunity for you. And I really wish you all the best. And we'll keep our conversations going, not on the podcast, but as usual, between you and me. I'll speak to you after this. I'm going to put the podcast, I'm going to finish off the podcast. But thank you very much for joining.
See you later, Tariq.
It was a pleasure. Pleasure speaking to you.
Great conversation, Tariq. The best for you as well. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.